Hello ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to discuss the beauty competence scale, which is my own original concept that explains what women look for in men and what men look for in women. Enjoy. Okay, so these are a couple of scales I developed. It's not completely groundbreaking, I guess, but it is an original take. It's something that nice and simply explains, streamlines basically what men. It explains what men are looking for in women and what women are generally looking for in men. So let's say start with the men because it's simpler. Okay, what men look for in women. It's a bunch of things. Say about half a dozen things, 4 or 5 things. Okay, beauty's first, personality, intellect, kindness, all that stuff. So first of all, you look at her and you're like, okay, she's hot. And then you think personality as you get to know her, and so on. Okay, and you don't want it to be a total idiot. It's probably not that important for her to be a super genius, but you want someone who's pretty intelligent. In any case, close as possible to your own intelligence level. Okay, if there's a massive discrepancy in intelligence, both the man and the woman will not be happy for their own reasons. But generally, people get paired up. People of similar IQs get paired up with each other. It's also people of similar appearance. Okay, usually the man is a bit higher, so if like the man is like an 8 and a woman is a 7. But back to the hypothetical scales now. Let's say there's about 4 or 5 different ones that a man is basically. See, these things I need to point out, they're subconscious mechanisms. Okay, I mean, men are more analytical, we're more logical. Okay, we see everything in life, even romance, believe it or not. If any ladies are listening, yes, we even see romance as an engineering problem to solve. Okay, so we see life the way pretty much just like engineers see life. Okay, so we have we can understand this stuff, like kind of in the way that I'm explaining this dynamic now, but largely, for the most part, they just happen subconsciously. Whether a man is doing it, whether a woman is doing it towards a man, or a man is sizing up a woman on the beauty scale, it's 99% of the time they're happening subconsciously. Okay, because they are hindbrain / R complex / reptilian brain mechanisms. Okay, it's completely instinctual. All right, we're just designed that way. Hundreds of thousands, millions of years even of evolution has brought us to this point. Okay, and by the way, as you can see down here, I've got the copyright, but I want to say explicitly that I give people permission. You can use this, right? Let me get as long as you attribute it to me, to the original source. Let me get that cursor out of the way for a second. Can I? Okay. Yeah, you can screenshot it and use it. Okay, as long as you say that I'm the original guy that made it. No, that won't work. No. Why can't I just... Okay, well, you have to have the cursor there, unfortunately. So yeah, if you want to take a screenshot there, whenever you feel like. So basically we have those 4 or 5 different things that men generally look at in a woman, and each component, each of those departments, let's put it on an arbitrary 1 to 10, 0 to 10 scale. Whatever the woman scores in it can be averaged out. And when we average the things out, the various scores out, and we get, okay, let's say we get like a 7.5, and we can distill all that into one scale, what we would call that, the most appropriate, the most correct name for that scale would be the beauty scale. Because why? It's not that we only care about, women do think this, but that's not true. Men don't only care about looks. We care mostly about looks. Mostly and only are completely different meanings, completely different words, okay? They might be a little bit similar because mostly might be 80%, might be 82%, might be 78%, whatever. Just round it off to 80, okay? Arbitrarily. That's saying arbitrary number, but you know what I'm saying? So it's mostly will be 80%. Totally, completely, would be 100%. Absolutely no doubt whatsoever. Okay? There's no disputing it. There's no other way to define completely or totally. It means complete, total, 100%. So we don't only, that was a word, only or mostly. So only would mean totally, So it's not 100%, it's not the only thing we care about, but we place more value on it than women do. Or even if it's not more, we just see it differently. Okay, so a woman also wants a guy to be hot, to look whatever, like, what's his name? Tom Welling, the guy that used to play Superman in Smallville, or like Brad Pitt or whoever. What's his name? Keanu Reeves, the guy from The Matrix. That I know that's what they like. Like, what else they like? DiCaprio. What's that other guy? Johnny Depp. So they wouldn't mind that at all. But if the guy's hot, but he doesn't have the other markers that would raise him up in the competence scale, which would be the aggregate result of all the other different things, you'll lose out. Okay, it's much more important for a man to have the other things, and if he's lacking a little bit in the looks department, the man can compensate for maybe being short or not being hot enough or whatever. Okay, so let's say there's one of the scales would be like the Chad scale for men. Okay, so if you're like only a 5 on the on the Chad scale, but you're a 9 on the finances and confidence and other things, because there's people that are not Chads, but they exude an incredible confidence. Okay, and other things like that. Okay, masculine traits. It might be strong. Okay, it might not be a Chad traditionally, or might be a little bit short and so on, but you might be extremely strong, like physically strong. Okay, you might be very intelligent, might be very funny. So a woman cannot necessarily compensate for a lack of beauty, physical beauty. Okay, physical appearance. If she had, no man ever, well, maybe a few men, but if you ask me, no man ever has said the following: she's not much to look at, but she makes me laugh. She makes me feel special as a guy. I'm her special prince. And she pampers me so much, and she buys me stuff, and she always pays for the meal. I mean, you're getting the point now. Some of you are probably starting to laugh now, because it's like I was deliberately saying things that women say about men and not men about women. Okay, and these things are not socially constructed at all. At all, the science is in. I don't need to put links underneath in the description box for about the studies and so on that have been done on primates, on actual human infants, okay, that every single time show that male and female baby infants immediately start seeing the world differently. Okay, they see it, the male ones see it in the masculine way, like as engineers. Okay, wanting to, like, they look at the nuts and bolts of the physical world, of the 3D world, whereas women immediately care more about making connections with other people, whatever it is. Like if it's the primates, they want to make connections with other primates, and the humans that we're working with them, and we're doing the experiments with these primates. So, but even in human babies, they've seen it. Okay, that immediately the boys are just looking around, like they're just looking at the environment, at things. Okay, they want to understand, like, the physicality of the environment. They're thinking like engineers, basically. But the women are more attracted to, like, people's faces and things like that. So it's more, and this is why women are like the more social of the two. Okay, the social animal. And when they're in a relationship, they look at the connection, the human connection. They place it above everything else in importance, above looks and so on. Okay, so it's not that they don't care about looks. It might be, in some cases, it might be the main thing that attracts her to the man. Okay, oh, he was so hot. Oh my God. But then the guy might be broke or something. It's the classic, like, broke rock star, broke author or something, or broke sensitive poet, that type of shit. But the guy can only get away with this for a short time. He's got like a short period of time of getting away with this kind of stuff, like in his 20s or something. But it's not a sustainable thing. Okay, so back to the describing, like, how I arrived at calling it the beauty scale. Now, people might protest the women seeing this, or the blue-pilled men that are conditioned to think in a way that women prefer them to think. Either way, people that just think that this is controversial to say, like, why would you call it beauty scale? All you care about is beauty? No, it's that because biological women are pretty much the flesh and blood 3D manifestation of the Divine Mother, okay, of the cosmic feminine principle. Let's call it the Divine Mother, okay, the Divine Yin energy, all right? So they are the physical flesh and blood manifestation of that, okay? It's the Divine Mother expressing itself through a particular avatar in this simulation, in the 3D matrix, okay, in this computer game, this lifelike computer game, all right? So that's woman. And biologically you can see that that's the case, because there's a very powerful and significant marker that tells you whether this is an avatar that's created by the Divine Mother principle, or the Divine Father energy, which is to say the XX chromosome. Okay, when it's got XX, it's like, okay, this is a vehicle for the Divine Mother. All right, 3D flesh and blood manifestation of the Divine Mother within the simulation that we're living in. So similarly, men are the flesh and blood manifestation of the Divine Father energy. Okay, that's why we are imbued with particular traits, like from the beginning, from the second a baby is born, it opens its eyes. The male one and the female one are going to be behaving in very distinct ways. They're going to be seeing the world in very distinct ways. Okay. There are no absolutes in this life, obviously. Only a Sith thinks in absolutes. That's what Obi-Wan Kenobi apparently said once, a long time ago. But overall, like the overwhelming percentage of women think along certain lines, and the overwhelming percentage of men have a certain way of, like I was saying before, that nuts and bolts engineer style, of viewing the world. Okay, so whereas women is more feelings, emotions, human connection. Okay, more intuitive, and so on. All right, so these things are not controversial. I don't want to hear that word. I mean, if something is true, it cannot possibly be controversial, so we'll have none of that. It's not controversial, it's just a fact, because the science is in. Like I said, we've done studies, numerous studies on this that proves the differences in the male and female brain. Okay, but this is, the biological aspect is just one level. All right, so now back to why it was called beauty scale. It's not that we're only interested in the physical, in the external beauty, okay, like whether the woman's hot or not, okay. It's beauty on all levels. Like a woman who scores highly on the various other little scales, and then we combine it and we give her like the average score on the beauty scale. You could call the other little individual scales the physical beauty scale, the psychological beauty scale, the mental beauty scale, the spiritual beauty scale. Okay, it all boils down to beauty when it comes to the feminine and to yin, because let's analyze the psychological beauty for a minute. So psychological beauty in a woman would equate to that unique nurturing quality that women have, that thing that compels a lot of them to undertake a career like nursing, for example, or HR, which has to do with just people skills, like with dealing with people. To men, these jobs, particularly HR, they look useless to a man, because it's like a middleman position that makes no sense, shouldn't exist. All right, but to a woman, it's like, how could it be? How could a place not have something like the HR department? Okay, so they're experts of those fields, the women, because they're drawn to them, because those jobs, those careers resonate with the way they think and feel and behave, okay, with the things they like. So the psychological beauty scale, if a woman is high on that, which is like a 7 or 8, it would mean that she's highly nurturing, her psychology is positive, she's balanced, she's not a crazy bitch, so-called. She's not a jinx, she's not one of those women that would come into your life, turn everything upside down, give you bad energy, infect you with her bad karma, and then just move along to, like a tornado, move along to destroy the next target. Okay, that would be a woman that would be low on the psychological beauty scale. Okay, so then we have the next level up is mental. So the mental beauty, if a woman is beautiful mentally, of course IQ is part of that, so the higher the intelligence, the higher she would score on the mental beauty scale. However, it's not competence based. Unlike a man, so if a man gets a high score in IQ, the woman is going to think, oh, there's a smart man, there's someone who can do stuff, who can fix stuff, who can make shit happen. See, it's always, with men, it's always like getting stuff done. With women, it's more passive because it's like the active and the passive gender, okay? Yin and yang, okay? Moon, sun, all right? So, because the yin, the Divine Mother, is like this passive energy, it's like cats and dogs, okay? The cat is a yin animal, the dog is a yang animal, all right? So that's why oftentimes we liken women to cats, men to dogs, and percentage-wise you'll find quite a few more women being cat people, fans of cats, than men, and vice versa. It's mostly men who like dogs, and not many men like cats. And the men, there's even, I think there's like a saying, kind of, anyway, I've seen it somewhere on social media, that says, never trust a man that likes cats, but who doesn't like dogs, okay? You can like both, but if you only like cats as a man, basically what that shows is that the man is overly feminine to the point where it's maybe not good for him and for others that he associates with. Okay, that would be like a case of a man being way too feminine, liking only cats but not liking dogs at all. All right. So these things are real. Like percentage-wise, you'll see that like if we had like a hypothetically, we ran a poll all over the world, like every single person, well, animal lovers anyway, you will see, if they all answered honestly, we'll probably find something like, that cat people comprise, maybe 65% of them are women, and then only 35% of cat people are men. And it will be the reverse with the dog people, right? So something like that. The reason this happens, of course, is that the yin, the physical 3D manifestation of the Divine Mother energy, okay? So women are like living, walking, talking, breathing yin energy, okay? It resonates with cats because that's exactly what cats are as well, except they're a different species, but they're mammals still, but they're pretty much like they're playing for team yin, okay? With dogs, they're a yang animal, okay? So that's why mostly men resonate with the dogs, okay? Because we like adventure and running around and running with the dog at the beach and driving around with it and putting it in the in the passenger seat with the window rolled down and the dog sticking its head out the window and it's enjoying itself. With a cat, it's going to be yelling and screaming the entire way. Like it's going to, like, every time. I've had my cat for about a year now. Maybe I've taken it in the car maybe 4 or 5 or 6 times now. Every single time goes crazy. The entire trip, it's like yelling from the beginning to the end. All right, so a man who wants to go out on adventures and stuff with his pet, he will much prefer a dog for that, because the dog is going to be enjoying these types of very physical activities. Women are quieter, they're more passive, not in a bad way, passive as in they work in the invisible realm much more than the men do, okay? Because that's the nature of yin. They prefer the more tranquil, peaceful energy of the cats, Like I said, for the most part, there's no absolutes here. Can't say that 100% of women are cat, or like cat people are exclusively 100% women and dog people are only men. No. But the percentage-wise, like I said, it shows, it's very obvious that it's mostly women that are cat ladies and cat fans of cats, vice versa with the dogs and men. So now the mental beauty, okay, we'll go on that. Mental beauty is intelligence, of course, but it's also, okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I think most men, I mean, I'm not going to speak for all men, but I'm compelled to say that pretty much all men would like, if they're confronted, if they meet a smart woman that they like, they're like, oh, I like this woman, she's intelligent as well. They're not going to say, oh wow, she's intelligent, that means she's competent and she can build stuff for me, fix stuff for me, like she can fix my computer if it breaks down, she can fix my car. Said no man ever. What we do think when a woman has got a beautiful mind, let's say, would say, oh, okay, wow, I can see myself having amazing, deep conversations with this woman, okay, about philosophy, about history, about spirituality. You'll be like, here's a woman that will finally understand why men think of the Roman Empire often, okay, and will not be completely shocked at it. Here's a woman that will understand what's being said in a YouTube video like this one, for example, and she'll be nodding and saying, yeah, wow, this is so true, instead of freaking out and going crazy, and getting offended by objective reality. So that would be a beautiful mind, because the whole function of the feminine polarity is tranquility, calmness, nurturing, beauty, like I said, not only in physical beauty, beauty on all levels, all the levels of the human being, which is like, physical body, the psychology, the mental body, the spirit, So then a last level, the spiritual beauty scale. There are many other things, of course, okay, that you will look for in a woman. Like men gauge whether she's, they look at her past, how many men she's been with, I'm going to say it, if she's a 3 or 4 or not. Some men might look at, her spirituality, how religious she is or not, politics. Like for me, if a woman, the closer a woman is to the communism side of the aisle, the less I like her, okay? So it'd be a no-no for me, like to date a full-on communist, for example. So it could be many things that you can look for, but they all, if we distill them into one scale, the beauty scale is the perfect name for it, okay? Because we're dealing with women, with the feminine, which is there to make a man's life. It's basically, a woman is there to make a man's life more beautiful, but not, like I said, not only, that was just that beep that you heard was the air conditioning, just turned it on. It's all about making a man's life easier and more pleasant, okay? Pleasant is the word, the key word here. But from a woman's perspective, she's looking for a man to make her life easier. Pleasant and easier is completely different things. I mean, if your life is easy, it will be pleasant, but a man doesn't necessarily want a woman to make his life easier. He doesn't want her to make it harder, but the key word is pleasant. All right. So the physical appearance, like the looks, are just the exoteric manifestation of a woman's inner beauty. All right. So the esoteric, the inside, is what I've been describing. So the spiritual scale, the spiritual beauty scale, would be that amazing ability, like I was mentioning cats before, how similar they are energetically to women. The amazing thing that cats do, right? I mean, you all know this, even people who don't own cats, you've seen it at other people's houses. We all know that cats have that amazing spiritual power, like they just sit there for 2 hours on the couch, seemingly doing nothing. They're doing nothing, quote unquote. But they're an amazing, psychically amazing animal. Like they're absorbing. Apparently, they absorb the negative energy in a space, and when they're doing the purring, that's like a machine that an energy recycling thing. Okay, that's what I read about it recently. Because about a year ago, this amazing little cat came into my life while I was looking for a dog at the time. But clearly, the universe thought, no, you need a cat. So, and it came to me in very amazing circumstances, like that could not have been coincidental, synchronistic circumstances. So I thought, okay, I've got to take this on. So I took it in, and it's amazing. So I've lived this. I've seen it, how the cats do it. You know, how they change the energy in a room and everything. So it is incredible. And so I've been Googling a lot about cats, and I learned in one of the research sessions that, you know, if you look at it from the metaphysical perspective, they basically take in negative energy wherever they are, whatever room / house they're in. And the purring mechanism, what it is actually converting, like transmuting the negative energy into positive energy, and they pump positive energy back into the place. But because this takes a lot of work, they often have to rest and sleep a lot. Okay, so we think, oh, just lazy cat sitting there doing nothing, quote unquote nothing. Okay, it's not at all nothing. It's very much something, much more than dogs, probably. Okay. Another interesting quote about cats and dogs is like a dog's purpose is to protect you in the physical world, like in the Matrix here in the simulation. But a cat's world is to protect you in the spiritual world. Okay, so we could use the exact same thing, the exact same analogy for men and women. Sorry, that wasn't right. No, analogy. We can use the exact same phrase, but replace cat and dog with woman and man, respectively, and it'll fit in perfectly. I mean, that's why men are physically strong. We're mentally more, we're more logical, stronger at maths and things like that, like more practical. Whereas women are more emotional and not really cut out for like the full-on, the really difficult tasks of life, the full-on cutthroat, dog-eat-dog workforce, all that stuff. The competence hierarchies, they really tire women out. They really stress them out. They burn them out. It's not for them, So that's why traditionally for billions of years it's just been men out in the workforce, out in the world, outside in back in the day when we were cavemen, like out hunting and fighting. And the women were the leaders of the community, okay, the commune, the house, not just the household, just the community, okay, in general, but the household specifically. I mean, that's why they're the ones that give birth to the child, okay, so it's all planned perfectly by nature already, and it's not a social construct. I mean, if it was a social construct, there wouldn't be such a thing as XX and XY. It would be just a random thing every time. But it's only those two, all right? And, like I said, the research is in. They've done it on primates, on human babies, on everything. And again, it shows the same thing, okay? Slightly different stuff, they're different experiments. There are slight nuances between them. But really the bottom line is the same. They prove that males and females, immediately since the first second they're born, when they open their eyes, they start thinking in quote unquote feminine ways and quote unquote masculine ways. Like it's innate. It happens immediately at birth. All right. So the spiritual beauty, if a woman is high on the spiritual beauty scale, it would mean that she'll be doing a similar thing that what I described before, as to what I described before about what cats do in a house and what the purpose of the purring is and everything. They do that as well. Women have that power, okay? They don't purr, but they do have that because it's yin, okay? They're both yin creatures, cats and women. So that's the nature of yin, okay? It works, it protects us, like I said before, that saying, that phrase about cats and dogs, it's like you can transpose it over to men and women and it will make perfect sense. It will still make perfect sense. So men are here to protect us in the physical world, and women's role is to protect us in the spiritual. So that's why both men and women feel incomplete when they're alone, okay? Because a woman needs a man's physical protection, and a man, a single man, needs that spiritual boost, that spiritual fire that a woman gives him, but it's invisible. It's like, oh, this petite little, thin, short little woman, this frail little woman. What could she possibly offer? But that's only our physical eyes talking, okay? That is no way the full picture. That is by no means the full picture. The stuff we see with our physical eyes, it's nothing, okay? I mean, only massive NPCs don't realize that, okay? No one in their right mind is going to say that the invisible world is not infinitely vaster than the nothingness that we see with our physical eyes, okay? I mean, this is like, it's common sense. Like, everybody knows that pretty much. Maybe I'm living in a bubble with awesome, amazing people that are not atheists, but come on, honestly, it's gotten to the point now where it's like we are at the 100th monkey syndrome, okay, with this information. Like, people, it's like the Overton window's expanded so much where people are starting to become like a common thing, mainstream conversation. That, I mean, even rich and famous people, scientists, people like Elon Musk, etc., openly saying, in all seriousness, saying that this reality we live in is probably a simulation. Okay. All right. So basically, we all know that there's much more to the invisible world than meets the eye. All right. So that's the female's domain. That's yin. That's the domain of yin. Okay, of the feminine energy. So that's where women's power lies. So if the woman is high on the spiritual scale, spiritual beauty scale, it would mean that she would make your spiritual life more like from a spiritual perspective, make your life more pleasant. Okay, because like I said before, the key word is pleasant, and over here on this side, it's making life easier. Like a woman wants a man to make her life easier, and usually it's in the form of like material comforts, okay? But with women, it's like we want you to make our lives more pleasant, but it happens in the unseen realms also, like explained with the spiritual beauty scale. It would simply mean, like, to translate that, it would mean something like a woman that's a high vibration woman that's got very little negative karma. There's just like a positive vibe, one of those people. I mean, we've all met them. I'm sure everyone listening has met them. At least one woman like this in their life. Not necessarily a romantic partner, whatever. It might be a relative, might be a neighbor, whatever. So, and they walk in the room and immediately something changes, okay? Like, immediately there's just, the place brightens up. It's not like bubbly chicks. I'm talking about energetically. She might just be sitting there not saying anything, just sitting there on the couch reading a book, reading the paper, and then you just feel this energy and everything changes in the room. And the more you come to contact with such a person, the better things become. She just straightens you out, okay? Because they straighten you out energetically, and because as above, so below, and because the spirit world, the unseen world, is the cause, and what we see here in the simulation is the effect of that cause. When you work at the level of cause, when you've got positive energy being pumped or transmitted in the realm of cause, which is the higher, your higher self, let's say, in the spiritual domain, it trickles down into the physical, and then you start, quote unquote, seeing miracles, seeing good things happen to you, okay? And then in our limited understanding, we often call people like that, oh, this person's brings me good luck. Okay, we attribute it to that. We can't really understand why, but I'm telling you, I'm explaining here why. It's because from a spiritual perspective, their spirit, okay, is of a higher quality than the other people that we deem to be jinxes or negative or just having a bad vibe or whatever. It's like, oh, every time like when people warn you, they warn you and they say things like, oh, that person over there, that Jim guy or that Jenny, just, you got to avoid them like the plague. Okay, if you get involved with such a person, don't get involved with them romantically or as a friend or as a business partner, nothing, because whatever you do with them, okay, whatever type of partnership, it's going to end up in disaster, and you'll end up worse off than you were before you met them. Okay, those types of people, they would be low on the spiritual beauty scale if they're a woman. A man would be like a spiritual competence. Okay, it's different. It's the same thing. It's like measuring the person's spiritual power, I guess, spiritual positivity, but the effects in the simulation, okay, in the 3D, are different because the opposite sex looks for something that it cannot offer. See, woman already is that, okay, so she's looking for this. A man already is this, so they're looking for that. All right, so, and if you average out all those different scales of what men are looking for in a woman, and you get an average score, whatever it ends up being. All right, so if there's 10 different things, and you add up all the scores, individual scores, and then divide it by 10, so you get the average. You average it out, and it will be this. And the perfect name for that, the most appropriate name, would be the beauty scale, because, like I said, a woman, it's her nature to just transmit beauty wherever she goes. Okay, so the higher she is, the higher her score is, the aggregate score of all the various things a man's looking for, the more beauty, the more pleasantness she would create in a person's life, in a partner's life. Okay, and like I said, mental beauty, spiritual beauty, emotional beauty. Okay, it's not just outward appearance, but men are different to women in the sense that we look at physical appearance immediately, and it's the main thing, it's the main deciding factor. Okay, like within less than a second, we can size a woman up. Like when we see someone face to face in real life, we can decide literally in milliseconds. We can decide. It's like, yep, I want her. I want to pursue her. I would like to have her as a girlfriend. Just by her looks alone. I don't know if women do that. Okay, they might initially, but then immediately afterwards they're going to start thinking, how smart is he? Does he love his mother? Is he emotionally well put together? Does he know how to change a tire? Does he know how to fight? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, like these are all things that if you add them up, they spell one word: competence. Okay, so we're doing the men now. A man would be, okay, intelligence, looks, whether he's a Chad or not. I meant to say whether he's buff or not, whether he's jacked, okay? Because you could be good looking, but not always necessarily jacked as well. But if you have both, if you're a pretty boy and you're jacked, that's even better. So, money, career, humor, sense of humor, if he's funny, confidence, that's a big thing as well. All these things together, fighting ability, all that stuff, when you distill it down into one thing, like if you average it out, like I was saying here, averaging out all the individual scores, we average out a man and he gets a 7 out of all that stuff when we divide it, it would mean that he's a 7 out of 10 on the competence scale. You don't have to, there's no need. See, why I'm doing this idea came to me about the beauty and competence scale earlier in the year, like towards the beginning of 2024, or perhaps towards the end of the previous year, 2023, somewhere there. But certainly around the turn of the year, early 2024. I had the idea firmly in mind, but I didn't get around to making the video till now. So you have then, instead of saying, oh, she's got, I like her for this, for that, you just say, okay, what does she get on the beauty scale, pal? Okay, cool, that. Yep, she's a 7 on the beauty scale, great. And with a man, you don't have to say, well, he's this, well, he's got that, well, but this, but then he doesn't, no. And in this one he's a 5, but in this one he's an 8, and this one he's a 3, he needs to get his money up, blah, blah, blah. All these things together, they spell one thing, competence, okay? Now, you might have a guy that's like a 10 in 5 different things, and then the 6th one, which is more or less the most important one for women, which is money, he might be a 3, okay? He might be here on a financial competence scale, let's say. See, just like I was saying with the women before, like I was calling everything like spiritual beauty, emotional beauty, blah, 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 you can do it with a man as well. Like you can say he's fighting competence. That would show like if he actually like literally has fighting skills, like if you can, beat up someone who's attacking his woman or breaking into their home, right? Financial competence would be how good the guy is with money. Can he make money? Okay, so it's all about competence, and you can add a prefix at the start, X, financial, fighting competence, combat, whatever, hand-to-hand combat. Handyman competence, is he good at fixing things around the house, all that stuff, because there's some men are not, incredibly, actually not. That's modern men for you, but that's another, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So, as to why men have been conditioned to be that way in the past several decades. So anyway, so it all boils down to competence, okay? We can just take out, like, we can nix the prefix, whatever it might be, financial competence, this and that competence, blah, blah, blah. Mental competence, which would be his intelligence, okay? You can just erase the first word and just simply say it's competence scale, all right? When we average out the score. So it's all to do with competence. Because why? Because a man has to be competent. That's not the woman's job. It's the man's job to be competent. Because, like we said, like similar to dogs and cats, that saying about the dogs and cats that I mentioned earlier, men's job is to protect us in the physical world. Women's job is to protect us in the spiritual world. So women don't have to be competent necessarily. They can if they want to, but they don't need to. Okay, they don't necessarily have to be competent in the nuts and bolts aspects of life, like in like a full-on hands-on type of way. They don't, because like I said, like the cats, they do their domain is in the invisible world. Okay, they protect us spiritually. I mean, it's equivalent. Each mode of operation is equivalent to each other. I mean, sometimes we might think, oh, they're not equal because men are more powerful and stuff. No, it's just that in our materialist culture in the West, we not only, but mostly care about things that we can see with our physical eyes. So we're like, because women haven't got big muscles like men and whatever, they're weaker. No, they're just seemingly weaker in the simulation, okay? Like I said, like a dog seems stronger than a cat, but only in the simulation, only in this 3D matrix is that the case. The cat is much more powerful in the spirit world, where the dog has no power, all right, or very little anyway, because there's no absolutes. But for the most part, overwhelmingly, the cat, or the feminine energy, is vastly more powerful in the invisible world, to the same degree that men can overpower women physically in the simulation, in the 3D matrix. Women can, in a similar way, overpower men in the spiritual. So there you go. That's nature's equality. Isn't it beautiful? Okay? Polar opposites, but equal in quantity. Okay? In value. That's a better word. All right? But expressed in different ways. All right? Like if we measured a man and a woman's value, like if there was a scale to just measure their value, I mean, not these scales. I'm talking like as value as a human being, okay? Regardless of the romantic wishes of each, okay? So just as a human being, let's say you're just your friend or your daughter or whatever, or sister or whatever, cousin, and you have a male and a female, okay? And you're like, okay, I assign a numerical value, okay, a number, to each individual's value according to what they provide in life, in the universe, okay? You will find that if we do this for every man and woman on earth, it'll work out in a way where pretty much got the same score. Women on average and men on average will have the same score, okay? Collectively, you know what I'm saying? Like as two groups, as two collective groups, we'll find that they contribute the same amount of energy. But it's just done in a different way. Like I said, men are more in your face. It's more, with men, it's just, masculine energy is just more obvious. It's the only difference. Masculine energy is the obvious. That's why it resonates to the sun, because you can just see it. It's just in your face. And the lunar energy, the moon, which that's what women resonate to, the feminine, it's just more subtle. That's all. It doesn't mean that one is stronger than the other. Okay, it's stronger only in the matrix, because that's all we can see. It's just because we can't see with our physical eyes the invisible stuff that's going on, the work that women do behind the scenes, that the feminine does behind the scenes in the spiritual domain. So, but anyway, that was a bit of a, it was important nevertheless, but a bit of a tangent, a bit of a parenthesis. But just to finish up on the men, on the competence scale here with the men, it all boils down to competence. All right? That's what I was saying about the dogs and cats, / men and women. Because a man has to be competent, because he's like the dog that has to protect. Okay? You buy the dog, a lot of people buy dogs for... When have you ever heard someone, a friend or whatever, say, oh, hey, I bought a cat the other day, and it's, because I need to protect, I need it to protect my house. Like, no, sorry, there's a very bad American accent. I need to stop doing that. So, a cat's not going to protect the house from intruders, all right? So, similarly, a man's job is the protector, the firefighters, the police, the military, just the man of the house, okay? When someone breaks in, naturally the man goes and checks out to see what's going on. I mean, it's just a natural thing that we just evolved this way. It's nature. Only a retard would say that this stuff is socially constructed. How the hell is it socially constructed if we're XX and XY are born a particular way? Okay? The science is in. We've got different levels of hormones. It's so many other things, secondary sex characteristics, and on and on and on and on and on, okay? Different ways of thinking. When I was a boy, I just loved, I was born in 75. some Generation X, so early 80s to mid 80s. It was like that was the heyday of the He-Man cartoon and the original Star Wars films, the first trilogy of the 6 official Star Wars films that have been made in this timeline in this particular Earth timeline that I reside in. There are only 6 Star Wars films made by George Lucas, who still owns Lucasfilm. Transformers, Star Wars toys, Lego, all that stuff. Because I didn't have siblings, I just spent hours in my room playing with the He-Man toys and Star Wars. Like, it was glorious. Not once, not a single freaking time did I see like a female cousin or family friend or something, whenever we visited them or they visited us. Not a single time ever. Not ever. Not once. They say there's no absolutes, but with this one, apparently it is. Because 100% of the time I never saw a female friend or relative when we were kids come in and start like looking at my He-Man toys and stuff, or if we were at her house, like her brother's equivalent toys or whatever, and being really into them and say, oh yeah, cool, I want to play as well. Like it did not resonate. They had no interest ever. Not once did I see this. Once. Similarly, not once did I see a fellow, cousin or family friend, male one, who took an interest in dolls and stuff like that. Cabbage Patch Kids and all that stuff, those little fake babies and stuff that the girls played with. Not once, not a single time. All right? I mean, there are people that are born homosexual. In those cases, they would have those tendencies to want to play with dolls and stuff. I have not witnessed this personally in my circle of friends and family growing up, because, I mean, homosexuality at birth is like, I don't know what it is. The percentage will be like less than 1%, very small, like 5 in 1,000 or something. It's very small. I don't know the exact number. If you do, please put it down in the comments. But I have not seen anything like, a girl wanting to play with trucks, wanting to play with Optimus Prime and stuff like that. Whereas I loved it. I loved it. I could be doing it all day, even now. Like this whole thing that men have, where we're like big babies. That's another thing that women don't understand about men, and they look down on us because of it. I mean, that's just a masculine way of thinking. There you go. That shows you that we think so differently. Okay, no matter how you want to frame it, no matter what you say, it's not a social construct. These differences are not a social construct. So that's why men, even if they don't know it, basically all we're doing is like calculating the different metrics, the different things that we like. We give the woman a score. It might happen subconsciously. I mean, men do it consciously as well, because we think like engineers, so we like sort of breaking down our graphs and our numbers and our scales and all that stuff. But even if we don't do it consciously, it's done subconsciously, and we distill it all down to the beauty scale, even though we don't consciously know that it's actually called the beauty scale or what it is. Don't even know the mechanism as it's being described in this video. But this is a mechanism, and it's done subconsciously, right? So we grade her on the beauty scale, because she's there to beautify. Is that even a word? If it isn't, whatever. But to beautify, if it's not, I just made up a new word. To beautifulify, that's definitely a new word. So yeah, they're there to make our life more pleasant, okay? But I can't name it pleasantness scale. Beauty scale is way better. But you know what I'm saying. You get the point. They're just there to make our life more pleasant, okay? And women themselves, they're always looking for comfort and ease and pleasure much more than men do, okay? Because they're soft. They're the soft gender, all right? So men seek that softness and that beauty and that pleasantness in a woman. That's what we want from a woman. That's why we're looking for a girlfriend/wife. That's the whole point. I mean, there's the sex, but you know what I mean. I'm talking about the complete package. It's basically that. It's that female, that feminine softness and beauty and pleasantness. This is why men, like a very bitchy and complainy woman is like kryptonite to a man. Now, if any women are listening to this and they don't understand that fact, well, this video is also made to help you understand men more. All right, so bitchiness is like the greatest kryptonite to a man. You would get a 0 on the psychological and mental beauty scale, because it's both psychological and mental. Like, because a bitchy woman would be someone who's like psychologically messed up, so she's constantly negative and complaining about things that she shouldn't. Plus mentally, because she can't control. Her mind's not strong enough, not disciplined enough to control her emotions. So then she's constantly complaining about random bullshit that nobody in their right mind would be complaining about. So you lose a lot of points for that one. But still, all those two things that I mentioned, those 2 points, like on the emotional scale and on the mental scale, where she would score, the higher up she would go on them, the more it becomes beautiful. So it's a beautiful thing to have a woman who's emotionally balanced, okay? Because she'll have that very calming, nurturing, nurse-like energy, imbuing your life, your house, if you live together or whenever she visits you or whatever, with that beautiful energy. So it all revolves around beauty and pleasantness, okay? With men, it's not that. It's about making your life easier, giving it more stability, because we're the protectors, providers, so it's all about protection. And again, see the dog thing, man and woman, dog and cat. Dogs are here to protect us in the physical realm, in the 3D. Women, cats/women are here to protect us in the spiritual. So beauty, if you really think about it, and this just came to me now, I never thought about it before I started recording. Beauty really is the best possible expression of spirit in the physical world, isn't it? See, that's a new one. I just made that up. I think it's like an original definition of mine. So, make a note of that one, ladies and gentlemen. I'll say it again because it's fresh, so I don't forget it. Beauty, what beauty really is in the physical, what we see in the matrix, is the best possible expression in a 3D of pure light and spirituality. So that's, beautiful things that are imbued with logic and spirit, because the logos, logic, the logos is spirit, all right? So I don't want to get into that logos rabbit hole now, but women have that, like the ones that high quality women, a woman that will score highly on this aggregate, this combination, the average score that she gets on all the other metrics that you grade her on, scores highly on this. She's like a 7 or 8 on the beauty scale. It means that in the scheme of things, if we look at it from a 5D, like from a bird's eye point of view, outside of the simulation/matrix/computer game that we're in, that we call 3D, that we call real life, laughingly, you will see that she's got a high quality spiritual being that's using that particular avatar, that particular person. Okay, that's all that means. So that's why I surprised myself now, because I had no idea I was going to say this. I swear to God, that definition of beauty, it just came to me now on the fly. All right, so with men it's competence. Okay, so I think we're done, completely finished with the beauty scale now. I think I've analyzed it quite enough. Quite thoroughly. So, yeah, the competence scale is all about protection, because men protect, provide, and so on. All right? We're the active element. So with being the active yang element, also comes things like war, fighting, protection in a good way, like war in a good way, like as in self-defense for protection, like when people have military to protect their borders. When people have security team, okay, that type of thing. So that's why the man, when we average out all the different things that women look for in a man, and you get the average score, the perfect name for that is the competence scale, because it all boils down, like, for every little thing that they're looking for, they might seem unrelated, but really, if you dig down and you get to the bottom of it, every single one of the things has to do with competence in one way or another. Okay? So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, you can take a screenshot of it. I'll put, where do I put the cursor? In the most inconspicuous place possible. I guess. I don't think it vanishes. I'll just leave it there for a bit. I hope it... Yeah, no. You're going to have the cursor there. But whatever. Maybe I'll leave a link to it at the bottom as well in the description box. But by all means, take a screenshot, whatever. Download it. I'm going to have I'll figure it out. I'll have something in the description box. And this is pretty good. Like, we've came in at about an hour long. So that's good. Didn't go over long. It's my first one that I did without speaking to the camera, this one. But it's the nature of it. I had to do it this way. And by all means, yeah, use this. Because this is going to be a great one. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to want to perhaps comment on this or whatever. You can make your own video on it. But just, you know, that's why I've got the copyright thing down there, just to make sure that people give attribution, but whatever, as long as you're not selling it or something like that, you're free to screenshot it or whatever and make your own videos around this. But just tell people that I was the original guy that made it. So I hope this helped. I'm sure it did, but I hope it did as well. Helped a lot of black-pilled men as well, who don't seem to want to admit, like the younger men, like in their teens and 20s, who are still learning the game of life and of dating. Sometimes a lot of them don't want to admit that this thing is real, the competence scale, and women are looking for that, just like men are looking for the beauty. We know the studies, the graphs, they're all over the place lately on the internet, right? That men are young men, teenagers in the West, are going more and more conservative, okay? So that means that majority of men, let's say, whatever, 3/4 of young men these days, would be against social constructionism, as would any normal, non-retarded human being, right? Because social constructionism is fake. I mean, maybe I'll seed about 15-20% ground to it. So let's say 85% is genetic, and then 15-20% is so 80-85% is nature. That's better. And 15-20% is nurture. Okay. Some people say it's 50-50. But as time goes by, we keep understanding more and more through various studies that are done that the nature component is just stronger. It's not 50-50. Okay, the people that say it's 100% social constructionism and nature zero, they are the ultimate retards. Forget those people. But to say it's 100% nature only and completely exclude the social constructionism element, that again is too extreme. But I would give it a balance of it. Let's say 80-20 arbitrarily, something like that. Okay, so most men, because most young men now are turning conservative, because basically due to the internet that we've had the past 20 years roughly, people are just waking up to how reality works. So that's why whenever you have, the more freedom of speech you have in any given moment, in any given society, you'll find that traditionalism and conservatism just becomes more and more popular. Okay, because it's, I mean, there's no accident that the right, as in the right wing of politics, is actually right. Right. It's the same word for correct. Okay, so this is no accident. It's like word magic. Okay, it's like the universe speaking to us, telling us that, hey, the side that's called, the correct side is actually called that. There's no accident. I mean, the right is quote unquote right. It's correct. It's the correct way to view the world, but you can't see it only. I mean, you can't just have like a right wing dictatorship forever and no leftist, no socialist policies at all, like safety nets or anything like that, like at all. That would be terrible, be horrible. It would be like an absolute nightmare to live in, right? But you certainly need the conservative / right elements to be stronger. You need like a balance, like 75%, like 70-30 balance of right wing versus left wing policies. Right now in the West, it's the opposite. It's been flipped because women got the vote, and then they became a massive voting bloc that politicians keep pandering to, and women are going more and more towards the left, and statism is growing, and all the usual stuff, the usual suspects. We all know that stuff, right? And if we don't, we're retarded. People should know these things. So men, because of the internet, the past 20 years or whatever, one can access information on their own and make their own decisions about life and completely ignore what mainstream media or education is telling them. So naturally, more and more people, especially men who are predisposed to, to be right wing anyway, because of our nature, because the right wing is the yang expression in politics, okay, and the left wing is the yin, because the yang, it's like the right wing is like a bit more militaristic and so on, more productive, capitalism, all that stuff. These are yang masculine traits, all right. So that's why men are predisposed to that side of the aisle to begin with. But now that they have information, the free flow of information on the internet, I mean, there's a lot of censorship, but still, at least we have the internet. When we didn't have it 30 years ago, it was bad. Well, not bad, but things were different, okay? So now that's why more and more men are going towards the right, and because that is the case, a lot of them would be obviously against the idea of social constructionism, naturally. So if you're against social constructionism, you can't then take an 180-degree turn and say, oh yeah, this social constructionism thing is BS, but then, because it doesn't suit me, because I'm like probably here now, like somewhere in the blue. So you shouldn't be in the blue. Red is death, but blue is just average. Like you're just only barely making it by. So here it's like, down here will be like homeless or dead. At this level, it's like, well, you're just below the poverty line. Like you're only just starting to be able to afford enough food to actually eat, like the bare minimum, whatever, beans and rice, right? And this blue section would be like, that's like beans and rice, rice and tuna. And up here is like, that's where the beginnings, the very first beginnings of, being able to afford meat and proper food and being able to go out often and whatever, to be able to date a woman, like to have enough money to date and time and money, whatever, to start delegating. If you have a business, let's say, when you start building it, you're here. When you eventually start getting it to the bare minimum point where you can just hand it off just a little bit, even a little bit, like the first handoff, like let's say your first part-time hire, okay, where you can just, you're like, finally, I'm going to stop working 24 hours a day. 5 years of working on this thing, 7 days a week, no holidays, and it's like, finally, now I can like hand it off and get this part-time kid to help me or something. That's when you're here in this zone. And then from this to that, when you get there, it's like billionaire level. So you gotta get at least out of the blue. Start like the beginning of your life would be when you enter the green. Anything under that, you're a zero. I mean, don't worry. Don't. I mean, that says 5 over there, but really it's 0. Okay, like in real world speak, that's 0, and so is that. It's just this one is just like a slightly higher grade of 0, but they're basically both 0. I mean, everything starts at here. So, but if a woman's down here, she can still get away with it. She can still bag a man that's up there, possibly. But if you're here, you're never going to get the woman in the green zone, that's what you want. We all know that's what you want. You want like someone's like a 7 and above, or whatever that is. That probably would be at 6. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so that's like a 6. So 6 is just when you just started living. All right. Anything below that is you're doing nothing. So you have to do everything you can in your power. Everything. You have to work. You have to give it 110%. You have to do like, because men don't have a biological clock. If you're one of those guys that wants to have kids, okay, me too. But I mean, because we don't have a clock. I mean, that's not to say you can have kids at 89, but you can like theoretically be doing the empire building thing till about 50, you know. So you're not in a rush like the women are, where they want to sort out the marriage and children thing about at around 30. Men have another 20 extra years to do it, you know, by the time they're 50, you know. So time is on our side, but also we need that extra time, because our sexual marketplace value, our SMV, is absolutely 0 till we reach about 30. So we have from 30 to 50 to build on it, to go, you know, from here to here if we can. Okay, if we work hard enough and if we capitalize on our actual talents instead of trying to always be like somebody else. So, you know, if you're not talented in guitar, don't try to be a guitar hero just because you want to be like your favorite guitarist. You just ain't got it. Maybe you're really good at drums. Maybe you're really good at fixing cars, you know. You know, you can be very successful in absolutely any kind of career. Like anything, pretty much anything at this point can be franchised if it's good enough. In absolutely any field you can imagine, you can set something up in a franchise type of franchise model. Okay, I mean, what does franchise mean? Basically it's just something that works very well and is delegated and replicated. That's all it is. Okay, so you're the guy that's got like the patent, the copyright for the original idea, and then it's just you replicate it and you get other people to partake of the profits, and they give you a bit of a cut. That's basically like a simplified version of what the franchise concept is. You can do that with anything. I mean, intellectual property is the greatest thing ever, of course. Speaking of which, my book. So I hope you enjoyed that trailer. Usually I put it in the middle of a video, but I forgot. But I was talking about art and intellectual property, so like writing a book or a script or something like that, or making a movie or, you know, an album. That's the ultimate. That's like, it's kind of, it's the same concept as a franchise, you know, because both A franchise, basically what you're selling is your IP, intellectual property. So it's the same thing with, you know, a great novel or a great script or whatever, you know, like Stallone, you know, that's how he made it, by writing that great Rocky script, okay? It's just that he wanted to star in it as well, but he didn't necessarily have to. He could have just, they were offering him like $300,000 back then, which would be like the equivalent of several millions today, right? So imagine doing that. You'll go straight away from there to there overnight. But you have to do it. You have to do the work. And then when you get in the green zone, I'm talking to the men now who are black-pilled, who are saying, but why are women, all they care about is money, and the hypergamy is out of control these days, and da da da. Yes, it is, but I mean, it's bigger, it's way higher, the hypergamy today, than it would have been naturally. Okay, there's many factors like the social media and so on, and feminism, that, you know, and you go girl, the future is female, women can never be wrong, all that bullshit. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, I'm sorry, because if any women listen now, it's like, well, it doesn't make sense. Because you can't say women are always right and then say at the same time, you know, simultaneously trying to convince us that you care about equality and fairness. How can you say this? Equality and fairness would be both men and women have good and bad traits. There are bad people among both men and women. Both of them screw up, and we've got to admit to our faults, own up to them, apologize, blah, blah, blah. That's fairness. Okay? That's the ideal society. Not one gender it can do no wrong and the other one is not automatically born toxic. No, fuck that. So, but a lot of the men, okay, see, I have some of these frustrations too, but I consider myself now as having made the first entry here into like high value manhood, now that I finally finished the book and I put it out there, because it's a saga. It's 9 books. It's a 9-part saga that's been planned out in detail. So I know that eventually it's just gonna, I mean, it's the only way is up. Okay, like a year from now, there's no way that the book is going to be less known than it is now, and there's no way it's going to have less sales than it has now. It's just going to keep going up. So I don't know when the point is going to be when it takes off exponentially. I don't know that one. I would like it to be tomorrow, but maybe that's not a good thing for me mentally. Overnight success probably is not good, even though we crave it. Maybe it's not a good thing. So yeah, so I feel I'm content now with the fact that I've started my journey in the green zone, or maybe I'm here, I don't know, because I've done work in the past with other things, but it's not just a book. I wasn't waiting all my life to just do this, but you know, like I'm fully in the green zone now. Like I'm 100% guaranteed to be in it after putting the book out, because they say about only 3 or 4% of first-time authors finish their first book. I nearly gave up, but I eventually did it. So, you know, so I'm not as frustrated anymore. I used to be. I still have that frustration about how men are treated, how badly men are treated in this Western society. But I understand that a lot of younger men, they're much more black-pilled, all right? So this is why I'm here, to tell them, look, these are the scales. Women have a particular makeup. It's hardwired. Men have a particular makeup and it's hardwired. I mean, look at it this way. How about when women complain about, oh, all you care about is my physical beauty, my physical appearance, blah, blah, blah. And they're never happy. Most of the time, they're not happy about that. Equally, a lot of men are not happy about the fact that women are hypergamous and they look at, for provision, providing, protecting, all that stuff. And they're like, oh, but why do we have to? Or why can't they want feminism and 50-50, so why do they expect a man to pay? Because it's part of their hindbrain, it's the hardwiring. Because for millions of years, men did pay. Now, whether it was in the form of actual money or not, back in the day, it was in the form of the man used to go and hunt. and he would bring, this gigantic woolly mammoth or whatever they were, hunting for game back then. And then the village had like food to eat for like the next month, like this gigantic hunk of meat. All right, so that was the equivalent of the man paying for the date, bringing home the bacon, literally. So it's there, it's in there, it's in their DNA to still want that, okay? And if they don't get that from a man, it turns them off. That's one of the things that they look for, okay? That's why, like Jordan Peterson says, women are always attracted to a man who's generous, because that generosity shows that he's going to be more likely to protect and provide for her. So these are all subconscious impulses. It's not like the woman's thinking this, analytically and consciously, and sitting down on a notepad and writing this stuff out and saying, I want this for him, blah, blah, blah. And he gets a 5 out of 10 in the intellect scale, and he gets a 6 out of 10 in the generosity scale. I mean, people might sit down and do that as an exercise or whatever, or they might discuss it with their girlfriends, blah, 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 but they're not doing it fully consciously, like in the way I've sat down and broke the whole, the mechanism down in this video, So on both ends, we have we have different, men's mating strategy is completely different to women's mating strategy. They're opposites, in fact, polar opposites, to the point where one side's mating strategy often infuriates the other side to no end, and vice versa. So there's never going to be a point where a man is going to have the exact same mating strategy as a woman, and a woman the same exact mating strategy as a man, because otherwise, if she did, she would be a man, and otherwise, if he did, he would be a woman. But he's not. He's a man, and he's attracted to women, not to men. And she's a woman, and she's attracted to men, not to women. If we're talking about, heterosexual people here, obviously. And we need to, and I'm giving you this advice to myself as much as I'm giving it to the male listeners right now. We need to really understand this, okay? I mean, it's very hard because it goes against every fiber of our being, against our programming, against our masculine way of thinking. But we need to understand that the feminine viewpoint, the way they see it, is completely different. It's the opposite. That's the whole point. Because if she didn't, she would be a man. And if she was a man and you're a straight man, you wouldn't be attracted to her because you're like, oh, she's too masculine, or she's a dyke or something. But if she's a feminine woman that you want, and she's high on the beauty scale, she's about here, anywhere in the green, but from the mid-level of the green upwards, that's the ideal, right? From 7.5 to 10, that's what you want. And women as well, that's what they're looking for in the men. She would have all the feminine traits, okay? The higher she scores on the beauty scale, the more, all these memes and stuff you see on the internet, like that shows like a picture of a woman and it's got like all the ideal traits. All those ideal traits, a woman with a high beauty scale, with high score on the beauty scale, should have all those traits, which means she'll be very feminine. Clearly, then, if a person is like that, she's not like you, is she? Because if she was, she wouldn't be feminine. She would be high on the competence scale, and you'll be like, yeah, I'm not attracted to that, because guess what? Opposites attract. It's amazing, isn't it? It's an amazing revelation that opposites attract. So, if they're opposite, it means they think completely different to you. Like when she's sizing a man up to see whether he's a good fit for a boyfriend / husband, she's looking for completely different things than you are looking for in a woman. And this goes for the women as well. Like I think I've helped the men understand now, the black-pilled men, to understand that when she's sizing you up on the competence scale, and like I said, it's done subconsciously, unconsciously, but it's been done nonetheless. It's not something bad that she's doing. It's like, oh, women are so hypergamous. Yeah, like I said before, they are more than they should be, naturally. But even if we took away these external factors like, Instagram, all the simps that they get on Instagram and all this, it wouldn't completely go away. It's not like, because like I said before, if men are naturally right-wing these days, and they should be, because the political right is a yang ideology, so it resonates to the masculine thing, to the male thinking, and therefore you are against social constructionism, you would then automatically say, well, clearly hypergamy is a natural thing. It's not a social construct. So it's not a social construct. So even if the social constructionist elements of it that have inflated hypergamy to never before seen heights, even if we took those things away, those factors away from society, or somehow minimized their effect or whatever, the hypergamy will still be there. It wouldn't be as bad as it is now, but it wouldn't go away completely. So it was always there. Okay, it's just that now it's just harder. That's all. But I understand it. Like Andrew Tate says all the time. Like there's never been a time in or what's his name, that first man, Chris Sturmey, that Irish guy. So there's never been a more difficult time than today to rise as a man, to rise up on the competence scale, to get into the green zone, right? But at the same time, when you do manage to get there, and the thing is, if you get there, like if you only just get like 1 millimeter above the blue, and only just get into the green, like just dip your toe into this pool of awesome, it's almost guaranteed that you'll continue all the way. Because then you'll start getting the benefits, you'll start living the life for the first time ever, and you'll be like, I want more of this. So it will give you'll have much more of an incentive to keep working hard and to keep going, because it will be the first time in your life ever where you'll be getting quality women, you'll be able to finally have enough time to delegate, to take time off, to travel. So you'll be, quote unquote, having a life for the first time. So that will be self-perpetuating. It'll be like a turnkey operation. Like it's like one hand washes the other. You know what I mean? Like you will have a lot of incentive to keep working hard, because you're gonna. It will be the first time ever that you've seen results. Okay, you've reaped the rewards of all the work you did to get from there to there. Okay, it may have taken a decade or two to get from there to there. All right, so you were there like when you were 30. When you from zero, that's like from 0 years old to 30. Most men, in general. Okay, then from there, you can move up to that if you work on yourself. But if you don't, you just stay somewhere in there, in the twilight zone, in the no zone, whatever, no man's land zone. Okay, so it's like you exist, but you're not really doing anything much. Okay, so it's kind of like a waste. Might as well not do anything at all. Okay, you know what I mean? It's like go hard or go home, that type of thing. So like you got to, from 30, from 20 to 50, roughly, you got to go extreme, full on, until you reach that, and then after that, the second half, the latter half of your life, is just going to be a breeze. All right, but when you do get there in this day and age, the benefits are much, much, much more. So it's harder to get there, to break the barrier of the blue and get into the green zone. But when you do, the benefits are 1,000 times better. The rewards are 1,000 times bigger than what they were back in the days when hypergamy was kept in check. Okay, because back in the day, the successful guy could not set up his own harem, pretty much. Now you can. High-value men. Everybody knows. Even women are admitting it these days on social media. They're saying, oh yeah, I know. And a lot of them are saying that, yeah, they'll probably put up with a high-value man that's got 4 or 5 women, as long as they're his main girl. Back in the day, it was much harder to do that. And it was much more taboo. Okay, people were getting guilt-tripped for doing that particularly because, you know, the Christian point of view was much stronger back in the day, in the 50s and all this. So yeah, it's harder. It is. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to lie about that. You know, it's harder to get out of the blue zone today as a man. But I'll leave you with this. When you do, it's going to be 1,000 times better than it has ever been in history. So today, it's harder to become... I'll put it to you this way. Another way. It's considerably harder today to become a king among men. But when you do, you become a king of the world. It's like you can have all the hottest women all over the world, and you can have houses all over the world and travel. It's like, you know, when you make it today, you make it really big. Okay? So it's worth the effort to go from there to there, to get out of the blue zone. I mean, I'm not even talking about this, because obviously you're out of this. Everyone is out of this, unless they're like homeless or something. But like, this is like the average person, right? Just some guy that's got a job, all right? And he's never going to... He doesn't aspire to anything else, just to have a 9-to-5 job, okay, cubicle, whatever. But this is the real deal here, okay? But when you get there, it's very hard. But when you get there, this day and age, it's just non-stop awesome. Once you enter in here, okay? So I think that covers it with for like helping out, like de-blackpilling some of the men that are quite black-pilled on the, oh, too much hypergamy, oh, it's too hard to make it these days, okay? And a final note here, final little tip here for the women. I mean, I don't know how many women are actually watching my channel, but whatever. If it happens to be any women watching, I'd like to say, ladies, listen. Just like I said about the men, that men have to understand that women think differently about dating. You also need to understand that, like I said, whatever it was 5 minutes ago, your straight woman is attracted to a straight man here. I'm going to say heterosexual man, heterosexual woman. Why do you think you're attracted to him? Like I said before, newsflash, opposites attract. What does opposites mean? It means not the same. It means he has a completely different view of what he likes, blah, blah, blah. It's like all these boss babes, they think that if they do the things that they want in a man, that man is going to like her. Sorry, but that's retarded. And I'm not saying it in a derogatory way. I'm using the clinical definition of the term. Okay? To retard is to slow someone down. Okay? So it's basically like backward thinking. Wrong information. Okay? Someone didn't tell you the full story. Yeah, okay? You were lied to, or whatever, or you just understood the whole thing wrong. Well, I'm here. I'm a guy telling you. I mean, hearing it from the horse's mouth. Who's better? Who better to tell you how it works than a man? So what we don't want. We're not looking for a woman who's like a replica of me. I'm not looking for a woman who's a replica of myself. I'm the one that has to get the high score on the competence scale. You got to get it on the beauty scale. So we're not looking. Like I said earlier in the video, what we have, so let me rephrase that. We already have this. So we're not looking for this. We're looking for this. You already have this, if you're in touch with your femininity, that is, and you have not succumbed to various mind viruses out there that try to convince you that being a woman is a bad thing. So you have that. Naturally, you're born with it. Okay, she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. So you're looking for that, therefore. But not me. I'm not looking for this. I already have that. So I'm looking for this. Having 1,000 degrees and PhDs and being aggressive, quote unquote, and a go-getter and a boss babe is not that. It's that. And I'm not looking for that, because opposites attract. So I'm looking for this. So you've got to score highly on the beauty scale, not the competence scale, because you're not this. You're this. Okay? You're the pink one, not the blue one. So making yourself into what you are attracted to in a man is insane, because it's almost as if the women that think that, it's almost as if they don't understand the most basic concept between Mars, women are from Venus, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It's like apples and oranges. It's like the whole point of being attracted to each other in the first place is that we're opposites in every way. Biological, psychological, mental, spiritual, everything, even spiritual. Because, like I said, women come from the Divine Mother, men come from the Divine Father. So even spiritual, like, we have different spiritual qualities. Although the communist New Agers will say, we're all one, we're all the same in spirit. Yes, ultimately, like really, really ultimately, if you look at it, if you zoom out as far back as you can, like the ultimate bird's eye view in the universe, then yes, from that vantage point, you will find that, we're the same in spirit. But in the mid-level, you'll find that even in the quality of our higher selves, of our souls, of our spirits are different. Okay, there's such a thing as a masculine vibrating spirit and a feminine polarity and a masculine polarity. The person's very spirit. Okay, so even at the spiritual level, the women have the yin, predominantly yin vibration, and men are predominantly yang. So even on that level, we differ. So you cannot possibly expect that if you're becoming the exact things that you like in a man, expecting that it will make prospective men attracted to you. I want to say this very slowly. What in the actual fuck? Okay? I usually don't talk like that, especially on YouTube. Not that I'm afraid of anything, I just don't want to. What the hell? I mean, everyone knows that opposites attract. So how can a man be attracted to that when it's essentially just another man in a woman's body? He'll be like, wait, this woman gets a 0. I mean, you would be down here. Women like that they're down here in the beauty scale. For real. I had no idea that this video would go here. I thought, I'll help the men that are black-pilled. But, this is sort of just turning out to be this way. I didn't plan this part, so I guess I'm helping both. Because these are the biggest problems that we see with men and women. With men, it's like they're checking out of society because they think it's all too hard. And women, they don't seem to understand that yin is not yang and yang is not yin. Why can't you understand this, women? The ones that don't, I mean. Why can't you understand that? I mean, go into your kitchen or whatever, or go to the fruit store and grab an apple and then an orange and put them next to each other and say, wait, apples are not oranges, are they? You'll discover very quickly that they're different fruits, okay? So that's exactly what it is with men and women, right? So you can't expect a man to be attracted to a woman that has all the competence traits that he has. What is this? He's heterosexual. He's supposed to be attracted to a person that's got none of these and all of these. All right. I don't understand how this idea even got into the minds of women. I don't understand it. And these boss babes are intelligent, obviously. Okay. IQ wise, but maybe not holistically intelligent. But IQ wise, certainly, because they've got high level degrees and so on. They might be high powered lawyers or whatever. So they're intelligent, they're smart women, right? But how can you be a high IQ person and not understand these things I just said now? I don't know how they get this concept that it's like being energetically a man is going to attract a man to a man in a female body. Like, my head hurts now. I need to stop the video because I'm just going to start ranting and complaining now, because it creates such cognitive dissonance in me, because it's like a child can understand this, and yet these high-powered, intelligent women don't. How did this ideology even? Who came up with this idea to begin with? That the more a woman becomes like a man, the more a man would be attracted to a man-like woman. I can't not say it for a second time. I have to. What in the actual fuck? Honestly. So I've been harsh on both sides today, as you can see. The men need to get their act together and get out of the blue zone. Do anything in your power, everything except immoral and illegal things, you should do. Okay? And women, get out of this bizarre idea that you will attract a man by becoming a man. Are you not a woman? Like, do you understand? It's like, have you seen like naked children? Have you seen their genitalia? Like, it's just like it's the opposites, and like even on a sexual level, it's blatantly obvious that in the most crudest way, nature's just showing us that our sex organs, they blatantly show it, that it's like men and women are complementary to each other. One has what the other doesn't have, and when it comes together, there's a completion. All right. So clearly, this blue guy here on the right is attracted to this pink girl here because she's not that. She's not this guy, because she's the opposite. I can't keep beating a dead horse. I mean, I've said it. I think I've explained it to death. Okay. I hope it was a little bit harsh there in the end, but sometimes it has to. Sometimes you have to, like, if someone's refuses to wake up, they've been sleeping. It's like 2 p.m. and they're still fast asleep. You're like, well, okay, I got to go in and throw like a bucket of cold water on their hypnotized face so they can wake up. So this is what I'm doing here. It's my style. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes you got to be a bit blunt. Okay. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed and felt you got something out of it, please share, like, and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter, because that's where all the fun is these days. I will see you soon.